because I can lay out the topics if you guys want.
Yeah, lay out the topics, Justin.
Okay, cool. So yeah, welcome guys, welcome listeners, watchers from around the world. Another edition of American Hammers TV. We got Zach, David, and Charlie Boy. Guys, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
My best friend's dog just died, so it was an older dog, but it's still like that was the lifeblood of her family, and it's just kind of dead. So she's just like, what the hell do I do now? It's like nothing, and so it's been a very awkward couple of weeks.
Yeah, so, way to kick off with some positivity.
Way to lift the spirits of all of those.
I'm sorry, but it's just kind of like I'm going back and forth with her now about how her house her house of 6 people feels very empty, and I don't blame her. That was the 7th member of the family. Now it's gone. Now they don't know what to do.
Sounds like Red Cup situations.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like quarantine life. I've been drinking a lot more than.
I know. It's like, when do you start? Do you like? It's 4 p.m. It's too early. It's too early. I can't do it.
But on that note, let's dive into some soccer related topics. So I thought we could talk about a few things. I thought we could talk about just the ongoing situation that is COVID-19 and specifically how that affects the Premier League. So I have some questions for you guys, some specific questions around that scenario. Wanted to talk a little bit about and get your guys' opinions on the dead wood on the club that should be sold in the summer or whenever the transfer window will be. And then if we do have time, I'd like to share with those who maybe you guys don't know, but also those who are watching that don't know, we started a poll. And we're trying to get the starting Premier League 11, the best 11 Premier League players in West Ham history. And we're on the center backs now. We've gotten the goalie, we've gotten the right back, and we've gotten the left back. So maybe we'll talk about that too and gather your guys' opinions on that. Okay, so I wanted to start. Let's start with the Premier League and just the whole debacle that is this pandemic and how it's affecting all sports. But specifically the Premier League. So I don't know who wants to start, but I'm interested in hearing from a West Ham fan's perspective. Do you even want the season to finish, or would you rather have it be null and void right here, right now? David, why don't we start with you?
Just from a purely cynical standpoint, I would want it null and voided just because we were close to the relegation zone. Prior to it being canceled, it looked like we would survive based on our schedule. But I would want it to be canceled just so we could start the next start the next campaign in the Premier League. I am really worried about all the money involved and the TV money involved and how that would actually affect the running of the Premier League. A rumor that I heard just through someone who knew people who knew about the advertising revenue is that the contract states that if the season isn't completed, then the Premier League has to return all the advertising revenue to the advertisers. So as much as the Premier League is awesome and it's worldwide, and I think that's why it's captured so many fans or supporters or whatever you want to call it, there's a huge amount of TV money involved. And if that TV money is taken away, even though it's relatively late in the 2019-2020 campaign, I think that can have some effects that it's going to be bad. We just don't know how bad it is. But overall, I'm just worried selfishly about West Ham right now and their Premier League survival.
Gotcha. Charlie Boy, what do you think?
Man, to tell you the truth, I don't know if they should, because when are we even going to play again? When it's going to be okay to even go to work? That might be 30 days. That might be 50 days. And there's still, 10, 12 games left? We would have to play 2 or 3 games a week, each team. However, I don't know exactly how many's left, but it's quite a bit of games.
Yeah, a lot of teams have 9 games left. A few have 10.
So, I mean, you could do it, play it maybe to the amount where it's mathematically it's done and nothing can change, and that's the season. Maybe we're shortchanged a few games, but when do we even play? You know what I mean? I'm seeing where I'm at right now, how serious this is, and a lot of certain places. And
Yeah.
I don't. For me, I want to see football, but you know what? I also want to see everything else. You know what I mean? If I don't know when anything's going to be regular, let alone football. But to be fair, somebody is, whether it's at the top, Liverpool, or somebody at the bottom that wasn't going to get relegated, or maybe he is, or they was in the battle, somebody's going to get the shaft, I think, in my opinion, at the end of all this.
Agreed.
Well, that brings up a good question, and Zach, I'm actually interested in your thoughts on this. Let's say that whenever the Premier League decides it, they decide and they declare the season null and void. They're not going to play it. They're not going to finish it off. Do you think that, like, what do you think happens with the title? Does it go to Liverpool? What about the Champions League places? Who goes to the Champions League next season? Was it last year's top four? Is it this year's top four as is? Does anyone get relegated? What do you think should happen if it's declared null and void?
It's interesting that you bring up that point, because the NIHL South, which is the third division of British ice hockey, yes, I follow it. People, it's great hockey. Trust me on this. If you live in the UK, go watch it. It's fun. But they suspended their season shortly, like literally the weekend before St. Patrick's Day. And they declared that there was going to be no more games this season, and they declared a champion right then and there. And the team that was on top, which was Stratham, won the title. So there is precedent in British sports to do this. But then again, they don't have TV money. They don't have as big of an advertising stake as the Premier League does. The Premier League, what's the base that teams get? 100 some odd million pounds for completing one season in the Premier League. That's a problem. That's something that needs to be talked about, especially in the contract deals with the advertisers, because if you're going to go through and play almost 3/4 of a season, and and you can't continue, and the advertisers are like, well, we want our money back, we signed a full season deal. I'm like, well, it's a really catch-22, and that assumes the clubs have that money still. They could have that teams get 100 some odd million, but and you can't. Why am I getting splashed back?
Because it's the Feds.
I was looking for a comment on my phone, and then it put it.
That's why. Okay, that explains a lot. But
sorry,
that assumes the teams have the money to keep it, and to pay advertisers back, because a lot of teams, the longer this continues, a lot of teams are going to be pulling out and going like, well, we don't have any more money. We have to close up shop. We have to go into administration, and we're going to have a bunch of teams that are folding. We're going to start seeing this all around Europe if teams can't get it going. Now, Germany's talked about getting restarted by May, and that would be a lovely concept. It would be lovely. It's a lovely idea. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, they're going to be in empty stadiums, and they're going to do their best to finish out the season. That being said, if we look at Spain, somebody from the Canary Islands, which is part of Spain, has reached out to La Liga and said, hey, come play on our islands in our stadium and just use it that way. And just play the rest of La Liga there, which I think is a novel concept. We could do that in the UK. We honestly can. We have Jersey, Guernsey, and the Isle of Man. Jersey has the biggest stadium of a little over 9,000 plus seats, home to the Jersey Bulls, which won promotion before the season even stopped, and with the stoppage, and they're like, well, the season's voided. They're like, well, we already secured promotion, so they're fighting with the FA over it. But I honestly could see a situation where if we can get to a point where the UK feels that it's okay, the teams move to Jersey and Guernsey and play games in Jersey and Guernsey and in front of nobody, and all you have is a camera crew, the teams, and it's very essential personnel, and that's about it.
They did wrestling like that.
Yeah, if you look at the WWE, great example, Charlie. If you look at WWE, they're doing everything from their performance center in Orlando. By the way, it's a really cool building, but it's very.
And people watched it. It gave them a little, and you know what I mean. I know it was weird, but at least if anybody complained, it was out of pocket because they gave you something, in a time where people are bored out of their minds. You know what I'm saying?
And at least WWE is trying to continue with their schedule of live events. They have a TV contracts with USA Network and with Fox here in the US. I'm not quite sure about the rest of the world, but those are very ludicrous, like very heavy money-wise contracts for WWE, and they're trying to fill out as much as they can in this time. Now, there's been the Ring Doctors Association, which, by the way, is a real thing. They've asked WWE and AEW to take some time off to give the wrestlers some time to be in quarantine and whatnot, which I don't blame them. That's a logical thing to say. But at the same time, they're trying to bring joy into people's lives, show something live that is not the news, because the news is just grim, and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We could have no deaths tomorrow, which would be lovely. And then we're going to start hearing all these things, and this thing may not be over till the 4th of July, which would suck.
Maybe. Yeah, right. We don't even know. You know what I'm saying?
But if you look at Korean in the Korean Baseball League, they are saying that their schedule was to start in late April. They've pushed it back to late May. Spring training is going to start in late April. Currently, they're talking about, currently they're playing inter-squad scrimmages that are occasionally shown on YouTube. They're fun to watch, but at the same time, it's hard, to have a spring training game or even a real game with everyone wearing a mask and keeping social distancing. It's going to be a mess. But at the same time, this is going to be the new normal for a little while until we can find something to cure this all and just make it go away like that. And fingers crossed, that's coming soon.
Yeah. And David, I'm going to toss a question to you. I think we can all agree that if Liverpool were given the title, no one could argue that, especially this year. They're above. But what happens to the Champions League places?
Unfortunately, the way I'm seeing it right now, I could be wrong, is that even if the situation gets better and there's a slowdown of the cases, even the cases are, just like 20 per day, they're going to be worried about reinfection. You'd have to play the games behind closed doors. I think you would also really be worried about a situation where one player who wasn't diagnosed gave it to another player, and then Sadio Mane has coronavirus, and that scuppers the whole campaign of Liverpool. I don't think we're going to get started again until September at the earliest, but I'm pretty sure everyone in the Premier League had played an even amount of games. Other leagues, like I follow Serie A too, they played an uneven amount of games, so that throws a spanner in the works. But I think they played an even amount of games. You just have to except Aston Villa, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I think Aston Villa had played one less game.
Yeah, there are some teams that and even like a Sheffield United, they played one less game than Manchester United, and if they would have won that game in hand, they would actually be 5th. And this year, because Manchester City were banned, 5th would actually get you the Champions League. So that's why I asked about the Champions League.
Okay.
If you say,
I was completely.
Because if you say top 5,
hang on, I have the answer. So Aston Villa, Arsenal, Sheffield United, and Man City have all played 28 games. Everybody else has played 29.
Yeah.
So
if you're Sheffield United and the season's declared null and void, what do you do with Champions League? Do you say, okay, the top 4? In this case, the top 5.
Champions League, which would be unfair. See, I don't know. Right. I think you just got to go with what the finish is, and then Sheffield United fans feel aggrieved, as they should feel aggrieved. But there's nothing you can do about it. You can't award 3 points to the teams who have played one less match because you didn't know that would happen. You know what I mean? That's predicated on something.
I have an interesting thought about this. If they do declare the season null and void, my guess is for Champions League and Europa League, they would go back to last year's standings and use last year's standings to go forward.
Dude, do you know who would be in the Champions League then? Spurs and Arsenal would be in the Champions League.
Yeah, I know, but that's
doesn't make any sense.
That's the worst case scenario in my opinion as to what would happen. But then again, the FA needs to show real leadership here and make some very hard decisions, because this may be the first and last time this ever happens. Who knows? 100 years from now, the Premier League could not be a thing anymore, and it could be the super ultra mega Premier League sort of thing. I don't know, but it's going to be one of those things that this is a watershed moment. And I talked about this on a previous show, that there needs to be some sort of agreement made with the owners and with the FA about how to proceed if work stoppage like this happens in the future.
I agree with that.
Charlie Boy.
I'm
David.
I'm sitting there thinking about Fulham and Brentford and the league below for promotion, because
that's exactly what I was going to ask you.
They're only, I see 6 points from West Brom. The other one's 10. That's a couple games if you win and they lose or don't get no points. You know what I mean? So
it's not over.
What do you do down there to get? We're talking about relegation, but also we got to talk about these guys down here, because Brentford's, they're picking up steam. Fulham's picking up steam. What if they would have caught West Brom? You know what I mean?
Or what if they caught Leeds? Honestly, Leeds,
or what if Leeds fell? You know,
last year Leeds was on top of the league. Everyone in Leeds was like, "We're going up, we're going back up, yay!" And then all of a sudden, they shit the bed, and Rugby else
really close. And for a promotion, that's big, because now how it is, and it's just, it's hard to get. If you get down, you might not go back up.
Well, if you look at what happened last year, like they went down and went into the playoffs, and in the playoffs they completely choked. They had a great opportunity to win the game and go on to the next round of the playoffs, and they just couldn't do it in the second leg, and they shot themselves in the own foot, getting a red card in the second half, and
I'm just going back to my point that you can't imagine what would have happened or
right.
Momentum at this point. It's suspended. It's not going to continue for a long time. That's the reality.
Right.
You can't promote anyone.
The FA has no balls.
Because either way, that's what I mean. Either way, somebody at the top's going to get hurt.
Get screwed. We got
that's it. And the thing with the TV ads, I want to say this. Yeah, they paid to sell their razors, shampoo, blah, blah, blah. Okay, look at the world in a crisis. You're going to be that company that breaks balls about we can't run your ad right now? You want that type of PR? We'll give you a fucking commercial. That's what I'd say if I was the Premier League.
The season,
I know they are, but if they did go ahead, like say if it was Dove soap, right?
Yeah,
and they go with that. And how's that look to the people? Okay, they couldn't pay you because they don't have TV time because there's no games, and you're gonna tax them when they don't have no money. You know how people are. They'll be like, they'll be on Twitter boycotting this soap. We don't want, know.
Hang on. So I have a crazy idea that might just...
Everybody's got to be fair.
I have a crazy idea that might just work. So let's pretend for a second you are a company. Let's say you're Canada Dry, just because I have it right here next to me, and you advertise on the Premier League, and you only pay £1,000. Let's say, just for a nice even number, and you get through 3/4 of a season, you have $250 left to be spent on advertising for the league, and so the Premier League's like, well, we got no more games, but we have next season. Possibly. Would you like to roll that money over to next year and get a discount on next year's advertising revenue, like to pay in for next year? I think that would be a logical thing to do, and that would be the right thing to do if there are no more games. And that's how you avoid paying, like giving money back. And you give them a big discount.
You're still gonna get losses next year. Then
I know you're gonna get losses next year, but you're gonna
get all your money back. You get
$50
back in your example.
You're gonna run a bunch of ads that target the working class, because it's all like cleaning stuff and shit working class people buy. You get the store, right? Nobody has money right now, so what are you advertising?
The human spirit. Yeah. The human spirit.
You know what I'm saying? So everybody's got. I like David. I like David's idea. Look, you got to be fair to everybody. We're just gonna have to blank it out. I mean, to be honest, I don't like it, but you know what? I don't like sitting in my house right now. But think of the nerd. Everybody's out there in New York, sick, dying, and you know what I mean. We got to be fair. And I think to be honest, boom. We're just gonna have to blanket start over. I don't know.
I got an idea for you guys, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. In my opinion, there's a point of no return. And what I mean is if we get to this point and we are not able to allow players to train, because they are going to have to train for a few weeks before games start again. That's just, human body. In my opinion, the point of no return is August 1st. Because if they can start training by August 1st, I think that they can play it out where they can finish the season by the end of October and then restart another season by the end of the year.
Yeah, with more games per week. That makes sense to me.
That makes a lot of sense.
If they start the 2021 season, Boxing Day is a Saturday in 2020. First game of the season, Boxing Day. And then that means that the 2021 season would end in September
Well, so
of 2021. But here's the kicker. The World Cup in 2022 is November. Why don't you use that to your advantage? And then you end the 2021 season in September. You have a few months. You start in December of 2021, and then you go to September of 2022, and then you have a couple-month break, World Cup, couple-month break, restart a new season, and you could extend the season 1 to 2 months every year to the point where it would sort of, it's hard to explain, but in 4 years' time, you would then get back to the normal August start date.
So
that makes sense to me.
That makes logical sense, but for the footballing calendar, that footballing calendar would need to drastically change because Euro 2020 is going to be next year as well, and that would run concurrent with the Premier League. And I don't think a lot of teams would let players go and play for the country.
No,
even
it wouldn't.
No, he's saying
run
we take that
concurrently.
as a break.
So you would
shift
shorter
the
break.
Euros.
Euro, sorry. Justin.
So you would shift the
And
Euros.
then they already
back.
do that. That's already a plan, ain't it? Then they already do the Euros.
Well, no.
They're like
Shift
in
it,
a-
so it's supposed the Euros are normally June through July, but he's talking about pushing it back to like August, September-ish.
Yeah, because the off season, the amount of time between the end of one season and the beginning of another will remain the same. It'll just be shifted over a few months. So then you fit the Euros in that same off season. The amount of time will be the same.
See, I like that from a logical perspective. However, this is the FA; they really don't care. They would do everything in their power to make sure that the start date is August for the next season, whether that be August 5th, 6th, or the last day in August 31st, for example.
Then they may as well cancel this. They may as well just declare this.
They're not going to be ready.
Well,
that ain't
my guess is
happening.
that if they're going to continue the season, they're going to play games every 3 or 4 days, and it's going to be
You can't do
literally.
that.
Well, you can't. Well, Norwich 84 in non-league team, they had a game every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday.
Very different though.
Last year, yeah, I know it's very different, but they had that I think last year or 2 years ago, and it was just hell on earth. And that was just to pick up steam and just finish the season out with a normal schedule and normal amount of games played. I mean,
Because you have some teams that are playing Europe, you have FA Cup games as well. It wouldn't be 2 games a week. You could play an average of like 1.75 games per week if you averaged it out. I did the math. I think that you could have 4 weeks of training starting August 1st, start the season August 29th, and you could finish it by October 24th. That's 8 weeks of play. And a lot of teams had 9 to 10 games, maybe an FA Cup game here and there for teams. I think you can finish it in 8 weeks.
if they're going to do that, they would need UEFA. They would need, in my mind, they would need the okay from UEFA because you're drastically changing what football is.
Yeah, I don't know the rules about that.
But there's a crisis. I think people are going to be flexible. You know.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this: simple yes or no. Zach, we'll start with you. Yes or no? If they declare the season null and void, should they give Liverpool the title?
Yes.
Charlie boy?
Yes.
David?
Yes. They're so far ahead on points. I mean, not mathematically ahead, but enough ahead.
Well, there's also precedent in British sport to do it, and that's why I'm saying yes. And for Sheezy, I'm glad.
And
glad.
100%. We can stay up and without a problem when they're in the season.
Well, that's true too. But I'm so glad I inspired you to go to a game next year. It's great fun. It's fun for the whole family, and you can drink beer and see the game. That's even better. Anyways,
Hell yeah. Okay, what's another topic that we were going to talk about? I'm going brain dead here. So we were going to talk about. Let's talk about maybe some dead wood that we would want to sell in the summer, or again, whenever the transfer window will happen. That's another interesting topic.
Yeah, it's probably going to be so much more narrower in time, right?
Yeah,
and you're going to have less money.
Yeah, you're going to have. I would say you're probably going to have to make the transfer window shorter as well. But whenever the transfer window is, Charlie boy, let's start with you here. Do you have any players on the squad currently that you certainly want to see sold and gone next transfer window?
Oh yeah, I got a few of them. Wilshire. He's peanut brittle, man. You know what I mean? I even said at the beginning of the season, I said he's gonna be so nice because he is nice when he can play. But he's too injured, and we need a consistent. You know what I mean? I'd rather have a guy that can at least play. Give me something. He can't give us nothing, no matter how good he is. So we need some bread. I get rid of him. I'd sell Fredericks too. No, I keep Fredericks. I don't know. You know what? I'm giving his spot to Nagakia. That's his spot. If they sold Fredericks to bring in another guy as his backup, but if somebody had to go, that's he's after. We could probably get a little money for him. So that's Nagakia's spot. Yeah, I get rid of Fredericks. I get rid of them two cats. Definitely. Center backs, and I get rid of man. I don't want to say Agbana because I love him, but I think he's gonna want to take off anyway. And you know what? We need money. You know what? I get rid of the whole back line. I don't even give a damn. I keep Balbuena. To be honest, I get rid of the whole back line.
Agbana as well, really.
I don't want to. No. But only if he's wanting to go. You know what I mean? Sometimes, like Diop is saying, his agent's telling him right now as well. It could be rumor, but he wants to go back home or wherever. He wants to go to a different club, right? So if Agbana's saying that, I would bless him and let him go. I'd love to keep him.
But I don't think Agbana is saying that.
No, Diop's saying that for sure.
Diop is, but Agbana isn't.
Right. But he might want to stay over in the UK because Italy he hit the virus hard, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I definitely would get rid of Wilshire Peanut Brittle, man, because he's killing me. He's killing me.
Peanut Brittle, I like that.
No, I'm serious. I don't understand. It's like he gets hurt so much and he's jumping out of the dryer, doing goofy stuff. Like, man, I don't want to see that stuff right now.
He's beat at glass bones and paper skin. He wakes up in the morning, goes down the stairs, and breaks his bones. And the morning.
And Sanchez, but nobody's gonna give us nothing for Sanchez, right?
No, his contract is.
I was waiting for someone to say that.
Expiring, so we can just let him go.
Oh, all right.
So
he doesn't have one more year, no?
He could carry his own.
Say it again, Justin. Sorry.
I was saying Sanchez doesn't have another year.
His contract is expiring. But he's done.
All right, well, good riddance.
I did like a whole research with Char on the players' contracts and stuff. I'm sure of that.
Nice. Zach, what do you think?
So I have transfer market up. So the guys on expiring contracts are Pablo Zabaleta, Carlos Sanchez, and Suchek. Zabaleta is too old. I love the guy. I think he's going to be a great coach on the league one day, but he's gone.
He's probably going to retire. He's probably going to call it quits.
Yeah, and which I think is the right thing to do. If he wants to get into coaching, I think that's a lovely retirement plan for him. Or even scouting or helping out the youth system. That would be great if we can keep him in that capacity. Sanchez again, he's on an expiring contract. Let him walk. Suchek's the only one I want to keep out of that. But I will share. It definitely needs to go. And I know we've talked about letting Anderson and Yarmolenko go. I'd like to keep Yarmolenko and let Anderson and sell Anderson if we can, just because I think Yarmolenko is a better player than Anderson at this point. But at the same time, it's kind of like from the guys we brought in, we really don't know much about them. Like Bowen, I think he was great in the couple games he played, but we don't have much.
Bowen's going to be great, man. Bowen's
going
to be great.
He's
going to be phenomenal. Yeah, he's going to be phenomenal.
Bowen's the guy.
I do not agree more, Justin.
But Lanzini,
he's going to be great.
Oh, Lanzini. I can't believe I forgot that motherfucker. Yeah, Lanzini. We got to get him out of here.
I have some other players I'm going to say.
My bad. I forgot that.
Lanzini, the way he's been playing this season so far is just pitiful. And it's like he doesn't want to be here. If you don't want to be here, great. Then we're gonna ship your ass off somewhere else that maybe you want to be at. Maybe he can go back to wherever he came from. And
they're saying he played for River Plate in Argentina, so they're saying if he doesn't go to European League, that he could go back there.
I think that would be a great spot for him. That would be a great spot for him. He's 27. He would take the year and try to show the world that he's still capable of playing European football. And it's no different than when Andre Pierre went from Marseille to Tigres down in Mexico. When he went to Tigres, everyone was just kind of like, well, there goes your career. You're not making the French national team. And 2 years later, boom, he's on the bench for the French national team in Euro 2016. He came literally this close to scoring the game-winning goal against Portugal in the gold medal match. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but it was a great story, and the French media couldn't believe it. So that's what I remember from 2016 anyways.
So I'm definitely going Jack Wilshere. He's dead wood. I think we could sell him for like $5 million or whatever, but we would have to take on a portion of his wages. I think even if we sold him to an MLS team who wants to do it for kind of a prestige publicity, we'd have to pay a portion of his wages, but that's okay as long as we get him away. I agree with Lanzini. I say sell him to the Turkish League, sell him back to River Plate. He hasn't been the same since the ACL injury, so get rid of him. I would say Masuaku as well. In the heyday of the first Moyes tenure, he seemed to be doing very well, especially with Arnautovic. But I think all the prices are going to go lower with the COVID-19 virus and teams not being able to spend enough money.
Yep.
But you could still get like $5 million for him. Get rid of him. He could go to the Turkish league, or I think even the Serie A. They would like his pace and his like ability to beat people and cross. I would say get rid of Fredericks if you could. I don't think there will be that big market for him. Even though we would have Ngakia and we would let Zabaleta's contract has expired, I really like Matty Cash from Nottingham Forest. He's a player who was a right winger previous to this year. Then in a very defensive system, they moved him to right back. He's been good going forward. He's been good crossing. I think he would only cost like $5 to $6 million, which was what we would theoretically sell Masuaku for. I'd like us to sign him. I don't know if we would to get a second striker, even though we wouldn't sell anyone. I would want Ollie Watkins from Brentford. I guess that's a
he's banged in like 20 goals this year too.
Right, and then we could have a backup for Hilaire, or then maybe we could switch it up sometimes and play two strikers. Even though I think Moyes wants to play a 4-2-3-1. What's been discussed recently in the news, which I would support, I don't know if it's rumors, is direct swap Felipe Anderson for Chucky Lozano of Napoli. He's had one bad year, but he's a very like low center of gravity.
They better give us Zelensky with him
and beats people. I will say Felipe Anderson, I'm like very, very torn about because I think when he's on his game and he has other players around him, he's pretty good. I think what I wasn't computing that now I'm computing when I kind of looked up all his vital stats is he's a left-footed player playing on the right side. So you always see him and you say, why doesn't he beat that player? Why doesn't he cut in? It's because he's left-footed. So it's trickier to switch to your right foot and then cut in. I've noticed he always goes this direction, kind of to the corner flag, and now it's making sense to me.
Well, so why don't we switch him to the other side and let him be on his dominant foot?
Because we have so many other players. We're wingers on that side, and that's what he's played.
I always wanted him behind the striker since forever.
I agree. Play better as well.
Well, so one of the things that I would really like to see is next year is have Allaire, Bowen, and someone directly behind them. And this is where Chicharito would have been perfect. He would have been right there behind to pick up any loose rebounds, any loose balls. And Allaire can go forward. He can hold the ball and just be like waiting for someone to come up. And then Chicharito would have been right there. He could have gotten a cross in as he's screaming down the center and just shot him and he'll go in. That would have been beautiful. But that's how Allaire made a lot of goals and a lot of assists with Frankfurt last season, and how we really needed to have been playing him since day one. And the fact that we were trying to hit a puzzle piece that didn't fit and it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I totally agree, Zach. I think what I've seen from him when he plays is he played with Jovic last year at Frankfurt, and kind of their movement would go off each other, and Jovic would come in and he would kind of like back up and move, and then Jovic would take the pressure and pass back to him. Now he's moving back, and players like Antonio are crossing it across the goal, and he's not as good at doing that. He plays better with a second striker.
And this is one of the major issues that bringing Allaire in with their lone striker system didn't really work and didn't make much sense. I was saying that on the American Hammers radio. I was saying that on Fortune's Always Hiding, and how it didn't make any sense. And now that we have someone that it makes sense for him to be with, now this is happening, and we're like, well, maybe next season we can see
even,
this.
even with that all being said, I think if we play a 4-2-3-1 and the two central midfielders are good enough, if it's Souček and Rice, and then the wingers and the central midfielder who's playing ahead of them is good enough, we still could create enough movement to account for the fact that Haller is the only striker. But I would just like to see that second striker so we could switch it up. We could do the 4-2-3-1 sometimes, and then we could do a 4-2-2 or 4-4-2 other times. I think you never want to be predictable. I also think if it's like the FA Cup, you want to be like, oh, the second striker has not been playing regularly in the system because we can't play it. We've played Chelsea and Arsenal. But now we're playing, I don't know, we're playing Oldham. So let's experiment with this two-striker system,
Right.
System to give them practice.
The AFL Cup and the FA Cup and those games against non-league opponents are the time, or an even worse Premier League opponents, is the time to play with your formation, play with your lines, play with your and play and see what works and what doesn't work, because you would rather know something doesn't work in a game that you win than something doesn't work in a game that you lose against Chelsea. Because
but I think it takes a lot of time to build a system up. You got to like practice it. Even if it works one game against,
we didn't have no identity this year.
It's not gonna like
that was one thing. We had no identity. That you talk like that. We didn't have no identity this year. You know that, like we were struggling to find ourselves, and I think right when Souček and Bowen came, we had a little bit of a spark. We had a little bit. Okay, we could do a little more. We could do a little more because we could put Bowen here. Souček kind of frees up the middle defensively and on the attack as well. And I felt like, man, we just playing the good teams real nice. And we was getting momentum, man. And we had a little bit more depth. And then bang, this virus stuff hit and it put a halt to it. Because boys, we played Liverpool nice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we also
listen, if Fabs don't, I don't know how, I'm not trying to hate on him, but I don't know how I lost. Listen, if I get a draw, I win the biggest bet in the world, right? And he just let step up. That was almost worse than the Roberto was going back and it tapped it in. But my man, through your legs, like slow. But
no, I got some bad news for you. They rushed. He's so crucial to us if he's on top form. They rushed him back from the injury. Then he got injured again. Then they rushed him back.
No, I agree with that. I've said that from the jump. He hasn't been the same since he came back because they hit.
Totally right.
Listen, when you're going a goalie, that's he's side to side. And that's lunge. I mean, it's so much pressure. Me and Tim was saying the other night. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to really evaluate. I know we like him, and when he was healthy, he was that guy. But do you think next year he's because
maybe this laugh will help. Who knows? But I agree. We still have to evaluate when he comes back.
It can't hurt.
That brings up a really good point about how
so Wilshere should be healthy by the way. If Wilshere ain't fucking healthy,
even if he was healthy, he get injured right away again.
But hang on. But
Wilshere got hurt going to the fucking
You bring up
mailbox.
a good point about Fabianski and him being rushed back, because I think that did lead to him being re-injured again, and us not knowing what the hell to do when he got re-injured. And Randolph's great as a backup, but he's older. Hang on, how old is Randolph?
I think he's 34. I have a chart with his age. Yeah, no, he's 32. He's 32 years old.
Okay, so
I'm good with clean sheet Dave. You know, y'all know I love Dave.
Yeah, he's getting up there. But at the same time, it's guys, you can't be doing this forever. I mean, but Fabianski, he's 34 as well. Yeah. And so I think we need to go out and try to find at least a younger goalkeeper, even if it's the third string for a third stringer. We need to find a younger goalkeeper. Yeah, and give him a trial and see what we can get. Because if we can get a younger goalkeeper who may be here for a couple more years, because Fabianski, you can't be doing this forever. Even in goalkeeper, you play less than a third of the game. It's still a very physical, demanding position. You dive all over the place. You jump all over the place. You hit things with your hands, and it hurts. And you can't be doing it forever. You can coach forever if you want, but you can't play forever. And so
goalies usually do last a bit longer than your outfield players as well.
That is
34 isn't as young or isn't as old as maybe like a 34-year-old central midfielder.
Yeah, and Lucas Fabianski has 1 year left on his contract, so we can just play him for the next year, assuming we came back sometime in September. And then we could either bring someone in as the backup who we think we could replace him, or we could just completely push it down the line and save money and then not re-sign him and sign someone in the offseason of 2020, 2021. That makes sense.
whenever that season is.
All right. So
Yeah, exactly. It's
hang on,
all-
I just want to say this in the comments. They're having a massive discussion about cricket, and
I only know about stickball.
yeah.
and I'm like Wally and
That's how
Fashif
Willie
are just
Mays got his.
going at it, and I'm like,
Yo.
what the hell is going on? What did I miss?
Play a game of rounders. I don't even know what the hell I'm talking. Is that the same? Is cricket rounders or I don't know?
No, rounder.
No,
Rounder.
a strange fact is that my younger sister is actually married to a retired cricket player.
You know what?
I've never been to a
Hey,
cricket player.
So
I'm
rounders.
nice with the bat. You give me one of them cricket
Okay, so
joints.
hang on. So rounders is an early version of baseball, and baseball evolved from cricket and
Okay.
rounders put together back in the 1840s. You can't watch Ken Burns documentary.
So
on
they're
baseball.
all like they're in the same family.
Yeah, they're all in the same sort of family. But if anyone's seen Brockmire on season 4 of Brockmire, which is on now on IFC here in the States.
Brockmire's fucking hilarious.
Yes, it is. They talk about how cricket
I heard it's good.
cricket overtakes baseball in the year 2030. And Bryce Harper jumps from baseball to cricket.
Hey,
And I laughed so hard as a DC's sports fan. I'm like, you did not just say Bryce Harper jumped from baseball to cricket. And the fact that cricket, I'm a huge fan of cricket. I love it. I'm one of the few white Americans who have American-born parents who actually understand the game of cricket and can watch it and understand it and commentate on it if I needed to. But it's just kind of like, this is so like not expected.
Yo, cricket's boring as hell, man.
Yo,
You
I
say that. You need to. Okay,
sucks.
get up
you
there.
need to watch the.
I get up there like King Griffey. They would love me out there.
No, hang on. You need to see
understand?
the Super Over from the Cricket World Cup last year between New Zealand and England. That was.
I
What?
show
I
him
do
that
not
back
need to see
toss.
that. I do
Yes,
not
you
need to see
do. That was the most exciting thing ever. The score was tied
Listen.
after 50 overs each, and no one knew what the hell to do.
I
What
don't,
was
I don't
going
even
on.
know what you're saying right now, but I am not. gonna see that.
I don't even know
I
what
can
they
t-
do, but I'm telling you, I'm swinging home runs every time.
You're going for a
Bat toss.
sixer. Okay.
Oh,
When
like
you
a
bowl,
Dominican. Woo, Dominican bat toss. Ric Flair down to the fucking what is it? The rounder? I don't know, whatever the spot.
Charlie boy, are you Dominican?
No, but they do the sickest bat toss only when I'm hitting home runs.
Now the
When-
Koreans do it better.
When I hit home runs, I fucking transfer to Dominican. I can do that
Yeah,
mean
man.
bat toss. Yeah.
I lived in
Absolutely.
Australia for 6 months, and I got exposed to the rugby, the cricket. Yeah, man, cricket's just oof. Cricket's rough.
Cricket is an excuse to get pissed drunk in the middle of a summer day. That's the way. That's the way.
See,
that
I
it's
wouldn't
played.
mind going to the game. I wouldn't mind going to the game.
That's literally a friend of mine. He's been to the Cricket World Cup, and he's told me and he's Canadian. He said it's an excuse just to get pissed drunk, and literally,
That's cool. I respect that.
literally everyone there is just pissed drunk. And so if you watch any of the games, a lot of times they have beach balls. They have guys dressed in very funny costumes.
I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like doing really funny, stupid things, just trying to pass the time because cricket's a long game, and even T20 that takes about 3 to 4 hours if you're lucky. And a 50 over game, the 1 day internationals that can take like 7 or 8 hours. That can take up your entire day, but it's still a long ass day. And the 5-day test series, oh my god, they have tea time. They have a fucking tea time,
Oh, they have a break for tea.
and they have a break for lunch.
I appreciate that.
They have it's a 12 to 1 hour break for lunch.
I appreciate that. You know, I'm a hungry guy. Like, oh wait, hey, sandwich time in the seventh inning, seventh inning stretch. Hey, bring out the finger sandwiches and the drinks.
Who needs an excuse to get drunk at a
Coronavirus is real. We are talking about fucking cricket and everything, ain't we?
Yes, I think
It's
the Cricket World
beautiful.
Cup with us as commentators would be hilarious.
I know. He said they need us. Hey, listen, we bring the vibes, Red Cup vibes, Red Cup
Anyways.
vibes in
Now
the
that we got
cricket world.
completely sidetracked, although for the record, I do believe that the Olympic Stadium could be used as a cricket pitch if necessary, and I think that would be a very interesting thing to see. We've already seen it be used for baseball last year, but could it be used for cricket? I think it can, and I think that would be a very, very unique situation to see.
I'm about to get on Amazon and buy a goddamn cricket bat right now
Go to eBay. Go to eBay. I don't think you can get one on Amazon.
and hit baseballs with it. That'll be a YouTube video.
Actually, Actually, the baseball is a lighter ball than a cricket ball. Cricket ball hurts. It's a full like.
Well, where the fuck am I
Baseball
gonna get a
hurts, yeah.
cricket ball? I guess I could order the cricket ball with it, right? Send the bat and the ball.
Yeah, there's actually I know it on Lillywhites there are sets you can buy. It's like my
Now-
first cricket set.
All right. So who knows? Does it got to do the bounce? Because I see it bounce.
Most of the time,
bounce and then
most
hit
of
it.
the time they
You
bounce.
don't have to bounce it, but it's quicker if you bounce it.
Yeah, it's quicker if you bounce it, and it throws off how you're gonna see the ball going, and it's just gonna go because a Yorker is a ball that bounces right before the stumps, and those balls are very hard to hit anywhere. So it's just kind of like if you hit it, you're going nowhere. And if you don't hit it, you're out pretty much. So it's
They
just
don't
one
want
of
to
those.
see me
weird
over there in the UK, boys, with the cricket.
All right, anyways, let's get back on topic, please.
Yeah, no, I forgot where we were at, but I think we covered off on who we wanted to sell. I think the only name that I would throw in there that hasn't been thrown around is Albion Ojetti. I don't know if he has a future. You could probably get back what you paid for him, but I just want to put one point out there that I think applies to everything that we're saying. If we sell players, I am simply going to be very nervous that we are not going to replace those players.
Yep.
And that we are going to not have the depth that we need, and we are going to be fucked in a specific position. I don't want to sell Felipe Anderson if we do not get a quality winger or attacking player in return. So I just want to put that out there. It needs to be a like for like, sell, replace, sell, replace. It can't just be sell.
And I actually think there was two stories of the campaign that has just been ended abruptly because of COVID-19. Is number one, the Fabianski injury just derailed everything and cost us a lot of goals. It probably cost us like 9 to 11 points. But I think the story that a lot of people didn't focus on, and I've said this before, is our lack of depth. We had no depth at the center midfielder position. I mean, center midfielder who's not an attacking midfielder at the same time. We only had Snodgrass. We only had Noble. We only had Wilshire. We only had Sanchez.
Yep.
That is a very weak center midfield.
Yep.
And then striker, we only had two true strikers, Hilaire and Ojetti, however you pronounce his name. I'm really worried about that happening again. I think Bowen was a great signing. Now we have enough wingers. If we re-sign Soucek, we probably have enough center midfielders. We can get someone else really cheap. Just to add to that, we can get rid of Sanchez, hopefully a Wilshire. But we're pretty weak at fullback too. So I totally agree with Justin. If we let go of too many players, then don't replace them, we could be in trouble. The only thing I'm hopeful for is we don't know what the other teams are going to do. We don't know if there's 2 or 3 other teams who are going to be really strapped for cash and are not gonna do even worse than us. But I'm worried about that as well, Justin.
Everybody's going to be strapped for cash except for the top big dogs that are never strapped for cash, especially in this situation, teams like us. And, that's just the reality of it. Like the Man Uniteds and those teams, they're going to keep rolling because they got crazy, just stupid money.
Well, but what I worry about is Manchester City, who's owned by a oil king, isn't he? And have you seen the price of crude oil lately? It's less than $20 a barrel. It hasn't been that way for a very long time.
Man, that guy's got old money.
Yeah, exactly. When you have like 80 billion, if it goes down to 60 billion, you're fine.
Yeah,
I know, but still,
that guy's money is so nuts to it's crazy.
But it's going to be interesting to see how the oil kings and the oil tycoons who own teams are going to be spending in the year, and see if they spend more or spend less, because it's a unique situation because crude oil is so cheap now and people are driving a hell of a lot less. Show of hands, who's driven more than a mile? Who's driven anywhere long this past couple of weeks? Anyone? No.
I ain't driving nowhere.
I mean, the only place I've driven is the post office and the grocery store. And I'm only going to the post office because I sell on eBay, so I have to drive myself.
From what I understand, Zach, is it's a price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia. and they're just playing a short-term game for a long-term gain, and they already know how much money they have saved off the oil revenues, and they're just looking to cut a deal. So I think this is going to be pretty short-term, and I think the owners of Man City and any other rich oil owners, such as the owners of PSG, they have enough money in the bank. I don't think it's going to go down. That's what I understand about it.
I know that but if this turns out to be a longer term thing, then it's going to be a bigger problem.
I agree with
for them. Yeah. But to me, it's just going to be interesting to see how they spent in the past couple of years compared to this this window, because this window is going to be the most unique window, I think, in the history of transfer window.
Oh, definitely. And also consider Man City still has the Champions League ban going. So,
yeah. And it's just the thought of it is just going to be like of them moving it to whenever they decide to move it to. It's just going to be like one of those. Well, what do we do now? And it's going to be so short term. News are going to be flying in and out, and there's going to be deals done, and it's going to be a gigantic mess. And at the end of it, it's going to be like a tornado just whipping through for a couple of weeks, and then you just be like, crap, I need several drinks. And you're probably going to want a vacation after this. You're probably going to want a vacation somewhere.
Red Cup lifestyle.
That's what is. Oh man.
Anyways, Justin, what else did you have on tap?
The only other topic I had was just showing people the infographic that I have made on Adobe, just showing where we're at with the Premier League starting 11. Building awareness. Hang on. So I think I can share my screen.
Why you pulling that up, man? When you said the Lozano for Anderson,
yeah.
Who said that? Was David, right?
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, that was David. So I would tell him I'm only listening if Zielinski's coming with him with the midfield. Because listen, I think Anderson, and I agree with Ian Bishop, and in the middle of the year, I said he's been played out of position. And with what you said about cutting in onto the angle, everybody's expecting him to score these 20, 25 goals. He's never done that his whole career, not in Italy, nowhere. I think the most he scored was 10.
Yeah.
So I think if we had a little more depth, Bowen, and we got to play it more, when Moyes came, he cracked that goal and made a run. I'm only giving up him if they give me Zielinski and Lozano, because Lozano, they're not playing him. He ain't really getting that much time over there right now.
Yeah, keep in mind that Lozano, year ago, was supposed to be like one of the top 5 world attacking players. It hasn't really come to fruition, but both of them had bad years, Anderson and Lozano. Excuse me.
Napoli switched skippers too, didn't they? They switched their whole scheme of things.
Yeah, they had their worst season in Serie A in forever. They switched coaches, managers, and their actual position when the Serie A season ended was their lowest in forever.
Because they're low, they should be winning. I mean, I know they're not Juventus.
On paper, they're really good, but
they got Milik, Dries Mertens. They got, they're low.
They have Koulibaly.
Yeah.
He's like a top 5 center back in the world.
Oh my God! Why am I not thinking we could get him on a good deal some of the time? We're not going to get him.
Our ownership group. Wait a minute.
Not him. Not Koulibaly. He's going for like Man City money. But
exactly. Koulibaly is out of our reach.
All right, Justin, what do we got up here?
So basically we've been doing some polls on American Hammer's Twitter. So if you guys don't follow us on Twitter, you definitely should. And if you do, keep an eye out for these polls that we're doing. So we've finished 3 positions so far: goalie, right, and left back. I still have to create the goalie icon, but Fabianski actually won and just to give a little brief background, this is Premier League starting 11, so basically every person who's played a specific position in the Premier League era only, right? So we're not going to have Bobby Moore.
Phil Parks.
Right, exactly. We're not
Premier League era. Okay.
Yeah. And we did get plenty of those types of comments, on Twitter, but we just had to keep reiterating. It's just Premier League. Definitely going to do an overarching one. Premier League and non-Premier League in the future, but wanted to start off with Premier League. Fabianski won, which I don't know. I put him in there. I almost didn't put him in there just because he's only been with us not even a full 2 years. But he beat out Ludic McCluskey, and I feel like he beat McCluskey out simply due to recency bias, essentially, just because he's he's sort of fresh in everyone's minds. Not many. What's that?
Yeah, I also feel torn about this because I started supporting West Ham and watching every single match in 2007. So I haven't seen some of the players in the earlier Premier League era, so I can't be an honest judge of something I haven't seen.
Yeah, it's tough, and again, I think that goes into why Fabianski won. It was very close, by the way. I think he won by like 1 percentage point. So it was extremely
I always
close.
like Shaka, man. You know, I always like my guy Shaka.
He was in the final poll. He actually, I think, finished last in the final poll.
I've never seen somebody speak so proper. My guy's like the perfect. He talks. I'm just like,
his accent's smooth.
He doesn't know like do it. Every word is perfect. I'm like, what does he just read books all day? Well, this guy is beautiful. I love him.
It's that smooth Trinidad. I think he's from.
Yeah, he's from Trinidad.
Yeah, smooth accent. Steve Potts is our right back. I didn't know much about Steve Potts before I did this, like these polls, but legend. He played a lot of center back too, and a lot of people were like, "Hey, why is he in the right back poll?" But to be honest, I think we all know this. Right back is a position of an aptitude when it comes to
it's a bit back for us in the Premier League era.
They know exactly why he's over there. They know exactly why he's over there.
I think him actually, because like people were giving me grief for putting him in the right back poll, but he won the poll by a lot. So in my eyes, that just goes to show how limited our options were at the right back position anyways. And Potts probably deserves to be there, even though he didn't play. He probably played the majority of his career center back, but he did play a lot right back as well. So Potts won that.
Tompkins played a couple games at right back. There you go, Tim. Take a drink.
Oh, Tim.
Yeah. I put him in the center back. I put him in the center back, Paul.
Timmy! Right now he's like Tompkins fires right back ever. West Ham.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tompkins did not. So because we have 2 center back positions to fill, I did like 2 polls, and then the top 2 from each poll went in the final one. And Tompkins didn't even make the final poll, actually. So I think Tim may have been a bit disappointed.
Oh man, he's upset right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Rio Ferdinand is going to be one, and then Elvin Martin.
Oh yeah, that's
Rio's definitely the top center back we've had in the Premier League era.
Rio and Alvin. Ooh, what a duo! If they could have played together at the same time,
right?
Wow, that'd have been nuts. That'd have been crazy.
I think left back was the easiest one though. Julian Dix won this by a mile.
The greatest.
I think he won. Yeah, I think he won. Man, what did he win? Yeah, I have the percentages on another window, but he won. I think 86 or 87% of the percentage of the vote. I actually thought he would. I was surprised it didn't break 90, to be honest. But yeah, I mean that was you just knew Julian Dix was going to win left back. No doubt about it. But yeah, so again, for those of you who don't follow American Hammers, please do and vote in the future polls. The center back poll is still open. And then we're going to get going on midfielders in a couple days. We are going to have to fill 4 midfield positions. I don't know exactly. I think I may do like 2 central midfielder and then like 2 wingers, and then that will be like the different. I don't know yet. It's going to be a lot.
I cannot wait for the Payet discussion because that's going to be a long one.
Yeah,
he was here for a short time, but talent-wise, he deserves it. I say.
Talent-wise, yes. Yeah. He was for the 18 months that he was here. He was one of the best Premier League players, and one of the best players in the world. And he was just like he was just fantastic. And hell, look at Euro 2016. He should have won.
Yeah, he was great.
Player of the tournament. And
did you hear what James Collins said about him on the West Ham Way?
No.
He essentially said that after the Euros, which occurred after that the final season at the Berlin. After the Euros, he said Payet came and he was like a different guy. He like moped around, wasn't as chatty with the guys in the dressing room. And he this is his words. He said he was kind of a prick, to be honest, after the Euros. It's the reason why I love Jens, because he's just so real and he'll just tell you how it is. But it makes a lot of sense. I think from what it sounds like, Payet simply thought that he was probably too good for West Ham, and one could argue that he was, but at the same time, no excuse for the way he acted. But I thought it was interesting to actually hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and hear it from someone who is a leader in the dressing room.
Well, so if you look at, has anyone ever seen an Olympic Marseille match in the Velodrome?
No.
Live?
Yeah, live or taped or on TV?
Maybe like 20 minutes, but not a whole match.
I've seen a couple of games. I watched them in the Europa League.
Yeah, so if you've ever watched Olympic Marseille in the Velodrome is a very unique place.
Yeah.
Very unique building. It's called the Velodrome because there used to be a track around it. Because it used to be an outdoor cycling track, and then people started to invade the pitch that way, so they got rid of it. And then they built a dome on top of it.
Patrice Evra got into a fight with a Olympique Marseille fan.
Yes, he did, because he was being interviewed for 2+ hours and taking criticism from fans, and that was in the Europa League group stage that got him fired, and West Ham signed him the following transfer window for nothing. That was a fucking shit show, by the way. But the fans in Marseille are very passionate. They're very loud. They have flares. It's a very unique situation. It's one of the best stadiums to go watch a match in mainland Europe. And European nights in Marseille are just one of those things. If I will implore you to watch the Marseille Red Bull Leipzig highlights, the comeback by Marseille, that game. There's a whole Marseille put out a documentary.
It's an incredible game.
Oh my God! I watched that game at work and I could not fucking believe Hiroki Sakai at the very last minute, at the death, just running back with an empty net waiting. It was a huge night to behold in Marseille. I follow people in Marseille on Twitter, and they said the party raged on till the next day, and it was just one of those things that you never see that ever, and it's just such a unique experience. And English football does not have anything like that, and I think a lot of it has to do with the stupid Taylor report and how it was done by Parliament and not with football fans in mind. And now that we have ways to prevent things that happened to cause a Taylor report, the Taylor report needs to be looked at. It needs to be, when everything's fine and dandy, the Taylor report needs to be looked at because it's hurting Europe. It's hurting British football. It's not allowing the best players to come there because they want the feeling, they want the experience. And with Payet going back to Marseille, playing in front of Marseille, playing in front of the fans, being back in that city, it brought back a lot of good memories for him. And he was just kind of like,
want to go home to his people. You can't blame a guy for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then
there's a certain way you do things, in my opinion, though. You know what I mean? But at the same time, but I can't knock him, man. I hate that it's gone, man. I'm sad. I'm just thinking about I'm heartbroken. Man.
But the weirdest thing about him going back,
that shit was beautiful.
Is when he went back, within a month or two after he's been back, his house got broken into, and his wife drew 100,000 pounds of his wife's jewelry got stolen.
Damn.
Marseille is a very, very crime-riddled city, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and because of where it is, there's a lot of crime from the area, and there's a lot of
where there's a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of crime. There's going to be a lot of everything.
Yeah, there's also a lot of terrorism in the area because it's so close to Africa. There's a lot of North African terrorist groups go up into south of France, go up into Marseille, and start causing all sorts of problems. And even Jews in Marseille have been told not to wear yarmulkes in public because of the fear of them being retaliated against.
Man.
Yeah, it's a scary city. It's a dangerous city, but it's a beautiful city at the end of the day. And if more could be done to help with the issue that is the terrorism, and Marseille is just an absolutely beautiful city that if you ever want to go to France, go to Marseille. It's better than Paris.
I support Saint-Etienne in France. So
they're a good team. I actually saw them when they came to DC.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
They played Marseille in DC.
Yeah, so it was a Ligue 1 tournament at Audi Field. It was Bordeaux, Saint Etienne, Montpellier, and Marseille. Marseille ended up winning it, and then they played DC United in a friendly, and they destroyed DC United 9-1.
You know what? We'd walk through France like nobody's business.
Yeah. Forshizi says the show has become geopolitical.
I'm sorry, I'm a geography major. I know way too much about geography.
Listen, France ain't scared nobody since Napoleon. You understand what I'm saying?
No.
Look here.
Robespierre.
I'll walk through where I will walk right over there singing West Ham songs right through their shit. You understand? Marseille, nothing.
Okay, John. I'm saying that because I had Transfer Market up covering the chat, so I'm just kind of like
next on American Hammers, the
like talking about cricket. I'm like, what the hell?
Israel and Palestine.
Hang on. I really want to bring up this. So Renee says, "Shall we pick Marseille? Pick a Marseille team? John Pierre Papin, Chris Waddell, Payet, Basil Bowley. Yes, Basil Bowley. Actually, believe it or not, there is a West Ham tie-in to Marseille. If you watch any Marseille game, if you look at the back, there's a big English flag with the cross hammers and Marseille on the bottom, and then there's a Union Jack with Marseille on it as well. There are West Ham fans in Marseille, and they even had a T-shirt that says "I'm forever blowing blue and white bubbles." If you Google that, it pops up. It's one of the most bizarre things, but there are West Ham supporters in Marseille, believe it or not. And it's just one of those very unique situations. And I've talked about that here on American Hammers before, and it's just so unique. I'm dying to find out who the West Ham's supporter is in Marseille that's bringing these tifus and why it's so big. And I want to find out that person and interview that person because I have so many questions.
He's probably just thanking us for Payet. Those are just you know what I'm saying? That's probably what it is.
Well, no.
Here you go.
This was well before Payet. This goes back.
Before.
Yeah,
I don't know.
This goes back to
maybe it's a conspiracy. He was
no. So I've seen him on Facebook. I don't remember his name, and I'm pissed off I didn't message him at the time. But he was there at the final game of the Bolin because he posted a picture to one of the groups that I'm in, and I'm just kind of like, wait a minute, that's a French name. I clicked on it. He's from Marseille, and his profile pictures had him in Marseille, in the stadium with the banner. And I'm like, oh my god. I know this. I know that banner.
It was probably a French guy from his neighborhood that played on West Ham or something, from his village or town or whatever they call it over there.
This is why I need to find him and bring him on and interview him because I have so many questions. Even if we need to go through an interpreter, I'm willing to work through with an interpreter.
Zach's on the interpreter. French.
I don't speak a word of French, so.
Je parle un petit peu de français.
Oh, we got Lee, Pierre Lee.
Yeah,
Lee's French. Oh, Lee's in there. We set this whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Lee speaks fluent French, right?
Fluent French.
Wait,
I think he is. I think he's got a dual citizenship over there, my guy.
Yeah, he's like Canadian or something, right?
Yeah, Uncle Lee's definitely lived in France.
So if we can find that guy, I'm going to interview him and have so many questions, and it may run into a 2-hour show, which I know Tim and Lee would kill me for that. But that's a story for another day, and we have the coronavirus.
Yeah. Red Cup.
Yeah, because at this rate, I think we're gonna go to 2 hours if we.
I think we need to
wrap it up soon.
I think we need to start wrapping this up.
Yeah, my cup's getting low.
Yeah, my beer's empty. But it was good hanging out with you guys. It was good speaking to you guys. It's the first time I've done a show in a while. Yeah, excited to get back going again, and hopefully we can see some soccer again soon in the next few months. But
fingers crossed.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. Yeah, fingers crossed. But yeah, I think that's a great way to end it.
Yeah, and until next time, come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.